Hello BookTube and welcome to day 3 of Vlogmas. Today I'm coming to you with a video all about my very favorite Christmas movies. Back at the end of October and Halloween I gave you some of my favorite scary movies, but you know, let's do some Christmas stuff. So I'm going to start off with some what I consider more childhood favorites, movies that I loved watching when I was a little kid. And some of these you may have heard of, some of these you may not have heard of. I know, speaking with some of my own friends, even some who are my age, some of these movies they've never heard of. And I just think that's super, super interesting. So the very first movie I want to talk about is called One Magic Christmas. And this is a movie that my mother absolutely loves. There is the poster for it. She has a copy of this and she watches it every year. I haven't seen it in a long time. And it's about a mom and dad who are struggling to make ends meet. And I think something happens to the dad. I think he dies. And then it's a Disney movie. And then this angel named Gideon comes and, you know, kind of helps the family through this rough time. It's a really, really Hallmarky type movie. It is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I don't know if any of these are on Netflix. So you might have to hunt them out, but some of them are, like, this one's really, really good from what I remember. And fun fact, the little girl that you see there, and sorry about the glare, guys. I was looking this up online to get, you know, who was in these movies and when they came out. Oh, this movie came out in 1985. So I would have been 6. And the little girl in the movie actually grows up to be, well, no, her name's Elizabeth Harbonos, I think. And I didn't realize this. If you guys are fans of the TV show CSI, the original from Vegas, in the last few seasons there was a character named Morgan Brody. That's her. So, you know, fun fact. But yeah, so really enjoyed this movie and I very much recommend it. The next book also came out in 1985. And this is one that maybe a few more people have heard about. Oops, this thing is so heavy. And that is the Santa Claus. Or no, Santa Claus the movie, not the Santa Claus. That's different. This was starring Dudley Moore and John Lithgow, and this movie was so magical. You guys have no idea. The very beginning of the movie where they kind of show you how Santa Claus became Santa Claus and him living in the North Pole is unbelievably magical. And the reindeer are fantastic. So essentially what the story is about is Dudley Moore plays an elf. And he develops this new, I believe if I remember correctly, it's a candy, like a lollipop or a sucker or whatever you guys want to call them. And he ends up going to New York City and running into John Lithgow, who plays a evil toy maker. And, you know, hijinks ensue, essentially. It is such a wonderful, wonderful movie. I absolutely love it. And I have to say that this movie came out when I was a kid, that I watched it so often. In my mind, and to this day, you know, 30 years later, John Lithgow is still an evil character to me. He cannot play anybody nice. When Third Rock from the Sun first came out on TV, I'm like, but John Lithgow is evil. And just from this movie, because that's the impression I had as a kid. And then when I never watched Dexter, but my husband watched Dexter, and when he told me that John Lithgow was playing a serial killer, I'm like, yep, that's pretty much right up his alley. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen this one, watch it. It is a great kids movie. You know, one of those great family movies you can all sit around together and watch. So the next movie I'm going to talk about is one that I just sort of already mentioned, and that is The Santa Claus with Tim Allen. This one I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. This one came out in 1994, and is it really that long ago? And it is about a man who, I think he kills Santa Claus. Is that what happens? Or he hurts Santa Claus? And then ends up there's a clause, spelled C-L-A-U-S-E, and he now becomes Santa. And he's got a little boy, he's divorced, and, you know, it's a really, really cute family movie, but it's also got a lot of stuff in there for the adults, too, which is great when you can have both. And then the last more family-friendly movie, if you will, is, I cannot not mention this movie, and that is Home Alone. The original Home Alone. I've actually never seen the sequels, but the first one, I mean, come on, Macaulay Culkin. This movie came out in 1990, so I was 11 when this movie came out. Am I doing the math right? Yeah, I was 11 when this movie came out. So I was a little bit older than he was. He was about the same age as my brother. But this movie is just, it's violent. it was on last Christmas, I think, and my niece was watching it, and she's only like 6. And I'm watching, oh my God, this is so, like, blatantly violent. When you're watching it through the eyes of a child now, it's like, holy cow. It's same with watching Looney Tunes. If you guys ever watched Looney Tunes now, it's there. That Roadrunner is, or that coyote is literally trying to murder that Roadrunner. It is horrible. But anyway, back to this movie. I'm sure you guys all know the story of Home Alone. The little boy is left home. His whole family goes away on vacation, and he's left home alone. And there's 2 robbers trying to break in. So that's this movie. I haven't watched it. I watched it last year. It's not one that I have to watch every year, but it is still a definitive Christmas movie for me, especially for my generation. And now let's get a little bit more into the more adult Christmas movies. And there's 2 of them that I want to mention. There's actually 3, and I forgot one, but maybe I'll talk about that one in another video sometime. So the first one, this movie came out in 1988. Now, I didn't watch it when it first came out. This is a movie I discovered as an adult, and I absolutely love watching it. And that is Scrooged with Bill Murray. It is, you know, this take of A Christmas Carol, where he is an evil executive, and he gets visited by 3 ghosts, and if he doesn't change his ways, he's going to, you know, when he dies, end up, you know, in purgatory or whatever. It is absolutely hysterical. I mean, it's Bill Murray. He is fantastic. My favorite ghost, I think, is the one of Christmas Past, the fairy with the fairy wings, and she keeps smacking him over that. This is such a good movie. It's adult. This is not for little ones. Swearing, sex, drinking, the whole 9 yards, but it is a really funny movie. Now, if I had to pick a favorite Christmas movie, it is a toss-up between this next one I'm going to mention and the last one, which I kind of saved for last because it is kind of, I think it just edges out this one a little bit. So, my runner-up favorite Christmas movie of all time, this movie came out in 1994. Again, I don't think I watched it. 94 would have made me, what, 13 or 14? I distinctly remember seeing this in theater, so I don't know whether I saw it in theater when it came out, or maybe a few years later if it was brought back to theater, I don't know. But that is The Ref, starring Dennis Leary and Kevin Spacey. I love this movie, and it does take place at Christmas time, so it is a Christmas movie. The story behind this one is Dennis Leary plays an ex-con, and he is robbed somewhere or something. And is it Joe Pesci is in this, or who's his friend? It's not Joe Pesci. I can't remember his friend's name. His name in the movie is Gus. But anyway, pretty much what he does is he ends up taking hostage Kevin Spacey and his wife, who's played by Judy Davis. Unbeknownst to him, they are in the middle of a bitter divorce. And her parents, or her family, is coming up for Christmas. No, his family. His family is coming to their house for Christmas. And they have a delinquent son in military school, and all this stuff comes to a head, and because he's now kidnapped them, he needs them to play along, or else he's going to kill them, and he's pretending to be the therapist, like, watching the family. It is hysterical. Dennis Leary is one of my favorite stand-up comedians. He is very, very vulgar, so, you know, keep that in mind. But this movie is just so funny. For the adults out there, if you've never seen this, definitely check this out. One thing, I've seen this movie at least a dozen or more times. And it took me about 3 or 4 watchings of it to finally catch on who the grandmother is. So the woman who plays Kevin Spacey's mother in the movie, if you've seen this, a lot of you probably already know. But about the 3rd or 4th time watching it, it clued into me, and it was the voice. She is the woman who played Mrs. Banks in Mary Poppins, the original Mary Poppins. And it's just hysterical. The family, his brother and sister-in-law and their kids, I mean, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Definitely check this movie out. And the last movie I want to mention is my absolute, hands-down, favorite Christmas movie of all time. This came out in 1992. And it is, of course, it goes without saying, The Muppets Christmas Carol. I love The Muppets Christmas Carol. I watch it every year at least once. Michael Caine is the perfect, in my opinion, Scrooge. I love the music. I love the characters. I could probably recite this movie to you line by line. and it was really funny, and I know all the songs to sing along to them. Last year I listened to A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, the Charles Dickens version, the original version, narrated by Tim Curry, and I think I mentioned this in another video. I was completely surprised by the amount of lines and phrases and quotes from the actual book are in this movie, like line by line, essentially. The parts where Gonzo, because Gonzo is playing Charles Dickens and he's telling the story, a lot of what he is saying is exactly what is said in the book. And because, like I said, I could recite this movie to you line by line, I knew them already, and when I heard them in the book, I was like, that's like, they didn't make that up, you know what I mean? Which is really refreshing for a kid's movie. I mean, you know, they took liberties. You know, I'm pretty sure Bob Cratchit wasn't a frog. And I laugh about this every time I watch a Muppets movie. When Miss Piggy and Kermit get married and they have all their boy kids are frogs and all their good kids or all their girl kids are pigs, I just think that's hysterical. Because, you know, kids are going to think that that's the way it works. But again, Michael Caine plays a fantastic Scrooge. Some of my favorite lines that I still quote all the time, I say, you know, like, I am here to tell the story, and I am here for the food. Rizzo the Rat is fantastic. And it is the Christmas Carol story, so it does get dark. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to younger ones. Actually, no, my niece would probably be able to handle it. But yeah, so definitely my all-time favorite Christmas movie. So anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below what your favorite Christmas movies are, or if you love any of these ones as much as I do. And until tomorrow, guys, take care and happy reading. Bye.